What's cracking, everyone? My name is Eric, and today we're back at it again with UI designing. Yes, we're doing more UI designing. It's going to be much similar to the previous one. However, today we know a little bit more about how everything works. So today we're going to basically talk about more properties and more elements. If you missed the last video, please go ahead and check that out. Introduction to UI designing. Anyway, this is my answer to last week's. Sorry, that's yeah. I can basically say last week's challenge. Yeah, I wrote this up. Please subscribe. Please do. If I can manage to upload frequently. But yeah, so that is something I approved with design. Honestly, I just took the text from last time and just and pretty much just altered the text label and size. I think. Anyway, let's get started again. So. Today we're going to explore more elements, and one of which is the frame. So the frame is while I set this up, I can explain the frame. So the frame is like a background container. So this can contain different elements and like keep it organized. So when you're new to like UI design, you might think that it's very pointless, and I understand that. I also did that when I first started out. So I was like, why the heck would anyone ever need this? It's like a background. So, but let me show you. So, let's say that this is our screen UI, our main screen UI. So I'm gonna call it main UI. So this is gonna contain all UI design in the game. So this frame is going to be a shop frame. So I'm going to say call it shop main frame. The thing is, let's just quickly go ahead and design a shop menu. So I'll just quickly get started on that. So you can see that what I'm doing here is that I'm starting by creating the frame, customizing the setting the border color and all that. Then I'm putting in a title that says shop. And then lastly, I put in a text button, which is called X. That is just meant to be like the close button, or we won't make it functional or anything yet, but yeah. Anyway, we are now here with our beautiful, absolute magnificent shop. You don't need to applaud me or anything, but yeah, it's just what I do. Anyway, you can see that we've got a text button and a title. Obviously, your shop menu will be a lot more complex than this. This is just to show an example. Now, imagine your shop here, and you're gonna have maybe like a few items, maybe it's weapons or anything, and those are each like GUI elements that you'll have to add in here. Now you'll notice that um, these add up a lot of elements, and if I just so yeah, you'll notice that I didn't have it in the sorry, that I put it in the frame. Now imagine if I didn't put it in the frame. Well, first of all, actually no, let's undo that. I'm just gonna make it invisible. First of all, this just got a lot bigger because now it's a parent, sorry, a child of the screen. But second of all, you'll notice that it already adds a lot of elements. We already have only one shop, but three different elements. So that is the first very useful use of the frame, which is that, it helps organize it, especially when you've got a lot of elements to deal with, which you usually have. The second thing is the visible property that you'll notice that I just used. Now, almost all the GUI elements have the visible properties, which can be used to basically toggle GUI elements on and off. I mean, it makes it invisible, just like the property says, and you can do this with anything. Now, even more importantly, you can also do it with the frame. So when I when I disable the visible property of the frame, not only does the frame disappear, all of its children do. So this means that everything in the shop and the entirety of the shop is invisible along with the frame itself. So not only is this way easier to manage because I can just go ahead and close the shop with this one property while I'm working inside Studio, instead of having to go here and disable each individual element. From a scripting perspective, it's also a lot easier. So we haven't touched on scripting yet, but as I said previously, I actually don't know if I said previously, but yeah, next video will be about introduction to scripting, and you'll notice that as we get on with UI designing, that if we didn't have a frame, making these invisible and visible would take a lot of lines of code and would just be, in general, very hard to deal with. So you don't have to mind it too much because once again we haven't gone into scripting yet. But the point is, it's just way easier to manage. So I don't know if any of you actually thought it was useless, but I remember when I first learned about frames, I was like, why the hell would anyone ever need them? I mean, they're neat and they keep stuff in the, like organized, but that's really it. Yeah, believe me, they are super useful. So yeah, that is actually the main frame. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think there's anything more I wanted to talk about. Right. Yeah. Yo. Sorry. Another thing is a text button. Actually, no. Let's delete this. But you'll notice that I added a text button. So right now we can't do anything with it, but you'll notice that adding a text button is basically like adding a text label, except now you can click it. It's the exact same properties, but now I can click it and it does that automatically for us. I added it in and customized it as if it was a regular text label. However, it does this like mouse hovering over it thingy automatically. So that's super useful. And right now when I click it, it doesn't do anything. So obviously it would close the shop. But yeah, that's because I haven't scripted it or added any functionality to it yet. But yeah, text buttons, those are really useful. And yeah, you can also deal with image labels. I'm not going to deal with that right now at the moment. Sorry, you have the same thing. You have an image label for just displaying images, and then you have image button, which are similar to the text button, image button, and images that can be clicked. So yeah, also another little hint that I use every once in a while and also use here is for the close button. Instead of having like a design or a close button design, I just say X. So what you want to do is to make like a little corner button, and then for the text say X, and then make it whatever color you want, and then make sure to text scale it or make it like decently sized. Because once again, this is like the standard size that I have when I entered it in. So yeah, you just want to text scale it or make it size. Okay, that's maybe a little excessive. So yeah, you get the point. I like make it big or text scale. I'm just gonna text scale it once again for mobile compatibility because that way it's perfectly fit. So yeah, those were just a little hints and talking about the visible property. I think by now we've covered all the main properties. We've covered background transparency, we've covered visible, and the four like size parameters. Oh, right, ZIndex. ZIndex is you won't need this as much, but it's very important, and it can also help you give a little better of an understanding. So each of these frames have a Z-index, so I'm just gonna go ahead and remove the shop, this beautiful shop. So I'm gonna create two text labels. Now the first one, I'm gonna call it label 1, which is our first label, and that's gonna say 1, and that's gonna be text scale. And the second is gonna be the exact same. It's gonna be couple. Sorry, I keep rambling. Label 2, and it's gonna say 2. And once again, text scale that. So you'll notice that, let's just make this invisible to see that it works, right? So right now both of these are visible. However, we don't want only one of them shows. Label 2 is the one showing right now because we added it the most recently. Now, this happens because of Z fighting and because of the fact that they are in the same position. So they're both in the same position. Now, obviously, we can't show both of them at the same time. And this is actually what happens when you can merge two blocks. So right now in map design, it's also a phenomenon known in map design. We're going to create a block, and the second block is a dupe of the first one, or duplicate, and it's going to be like really obvious blue. Now, you'll notice that first of all, my demo didn't work. Let's just make this red. Yeah, but yeah, as you can see, right now, this is a beautiful example of this. So as you can see right now, these two are halfway into each other, and you'll notice that they kind of flash. That's because they're in the exact same position. So they're like fighting over the screen space, so it keeps flashing between them. And the same thing happens with UI designing. So right now, you can't see it because it just layers one on top of the other, but they're on the same level. So to counteract this, we have the ZIndex. So this is basically on what layer they are on. So obviously we can't change that position because that would change how we want it to look, but we can change the invisible Z-axis that we have, which we do by changing the Z-index. So basically the one, basically the higher the Z-index, the higher the layer. So the one Man, I just keep messing up my words today. But yeah, the GUI element with the highest index will always be shown the highest. So if I make this 2, you'll notice that it shows. Because label 2 has a Z index of 1, and label 1 has a Z index of 2, so which gets kind of confusing, I know, yeah. But basically, label 1 has a higher Z index than label 2, so thus it gets shown higher. Shown higher, sorry. I can change this again, so I can change the label 2 Z index to, let's say, 3, and of course that would make it higher again, and you can keep going back and forth like that. So yeah, it's also known in map design when you position 2 blocks in the same area, and to counteract this, you would usually just make one bigger. So in our example of, actually I'm just gonna, Control C back to this. So you'll notice that these two fight, and the simple way to fix this regarding map design would actually be to just make one bigger than the other. Now this is noticeably bigger. It doesn't have to be that much bigger. Once again, you can go to move and disable your increments and make it just a bit bigger. Not enough for it to be noticeable, but enough for it to disappear. Anyway, I went kind of off track. So yeah, that was it for today, I believe. We covered the Z-index, we've covered the visible and the frames. So yeah, next video is going to be about scripting because most of UI designing from now on relies on scripting. So that's going to be interesting, or well, I hope it is for you guys because it is for me. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll hit you up in the next one. Bye.